بقوله الله سبحانه وتعالى اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من ضرب هذا الذي هو محفوظ مسلم بيد الشريف بشربة هنيئة لا نضر بعدها ولا ثم بعد. I just want to start with a few words about the importance of these study circles. So Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that whenever Muslims come to the masjid to stay in one of the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the purpose of reading and studying the Quran, four good things will happen to them. إلا نزل عليهم السكينة, tranquility, and ease was descended upon them. وغشيتهم الرحمة, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covered them. وحفتهم الملائكة, the angels will come to talk about this more immediately. The angels will come and surround them. Don't see the angels, but we believe they are here. This magic and the victory. And fourth thing is that like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remember them as they came together to remember. So alhamdulillah, we feel that sakina, we feel peace and tranquility, rahmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covering us in the presence of the angels with us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remember us by name as we came for no reason but to remember Allah and to study His words. Another hadith actually talks about the angels in particular, and as you know, there are so many doing different things. Some angels are writing for deeds, other angels, they take spirits, angels of death. Other angels breathe into the fetus to give them life. Other angels do different things. Some angels were created for one purpose. Their job is to search for these kind of study circles. They detect. They know what kind of technology they're using, but they know when there is a halaqah of dhikrullah or people come together to study the deen. They search for them, and once they find them, then they call one another. We found what we're looking for. Come forward. So they come in big numbers, and they stay with those who study Al-Quran, come forward to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stay with them. And then when the meeting is over, they would go up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who ask them, how did you find your servants? And they would say, Ya Allah, we came and we found them remembering you, and praising you, and glorifying you, and studying your deen. And Allah would ask them, have they seen me? They say, no, Ya Allah, they haven't seen you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, what if they have seen me? What if they have seen me? What do they ask for? And they say, Ya Allah, they ask for a Jannah. Allah will ask the angels, have they seen Jannah? He said, no, they haven't seen Jannah. Allah will say, what if they have seen Jannah? Now think about it. What if? What if? Imagine that you get a chance to go and take a look at Jannah and come back to this dunya. How stronger our iman would be, right? If we got the chance to see and live in Jannah for a few minutes and come back to this dunya, we will just work day and night to achieve Jannah. What are they afraid of? Seeking refuge from. The angels will say they are afraid of your punishment, the hellfire. Allah will ask, have they seen the hellfire? No, we haven't, right? So the angels will say, no, they haven't seen the hellfire. And Allah will say, what if they have seen it? They are believers, they're coming to worship Allah without seeing Allah. They seek Al-Jannah although they haven't seen Jannah, and they seek protection from the hellfire although they haven't seen the hellfire. But what if we got the chance to see a video or a documentary about the hellfire and what kind of terrible place it is, and the severity of the punishment there? What if? It is a blessing that, by the way, it's a blessing that we haven't seen yet these things. You know why? This is called al-mukashaf. Some ulama of Tasawwuf talk about it. It's a blessing that we haven't seen this. Because, first of all, we may have some excuses, right? If you have seen them, then you have no excuse because you have seen them. Additionally, if we were able to see the hellfire, we wouldn't have enjoyed anything in this world. Let's think about it. Sometimes when you watch a horror movie, this can ruin your life for a few days. What if you have seen the hellfire? You wouldn't have enjoyed anything in this world, right? So, the same reason why we don't know the time of our death. It's a blessing that we don't know. Because if you know, this is the date, April 17, 20, something. Yeah, all what you do is just count down. No point for you to go to work or to start business or to get married or to take care of anything just because you have. You know that your time's coming. So it's a blessing that we haven't seen these things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then will say to these angels, أشهدكم يا ملائكتي أني غفرت لكم. Be my witness, O my angels, that I have forgiven all of them, just for the purpose or for the fact that they came to worship Allah and to study their deen. I forgave them. Sins are forgiven. So I hope and pray, inshallah, at the time we conclude this meeting, inshallah, our sins will be forgiven. And one of the angels will say, Ya Allah, but one of them is not really one of them. Some of the attendees, he did not come to, for the sake of seeking knowledge. He came to meet his friend or to pick up someone or to see someone. But he was there. And Allah will say, he also would be forgiven. So it's really important to spend some time in the masjid, in the house of Allah, where the rahmah of Allah descends and the angels attend, when we can gain forgiveness. All our sins can be forgiven just for the sake of coming and spending some time in the masjid. People always complain that they're busy, they have no time. Believe me, we waste so much time in useless and sometimes harmful activities. There's nothing in this dunya we can do better than coming to the house of Allah, studying the words of Allah, understand the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to improve our iman. So our iman goes hand in hand with knowledge. More knowledge, more iman. أعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله. اعلم, know for sure. لا إله إلا الله. So, قل رب زدني علما. Allah said, قل رب زدني, Ya Allah, increase me in knowledge. That's the dua that we should always make. Ya Allah, increase me in knowledge. How to increase your knowledge? Read, listen to lectures, attend study circles, ask questions, listen carefully. Right? So this is how we seek knowledge. Spend time. I'm not suggesting we all should be all scholars, but at least we need to know the basics of our deen and to keep increasing our knowledge. The more knowledge we have, the better believers we are. And talking about tafsir in particular, what is more valuable than the Quran? Quran is kalamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the hadith, Imam al-Qurtubi mentioned in the beginning or introduction of his book of tafsir, he narrated this hadith in which that says that the superiority of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to other words is like the superiority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to any one of his creation. That is how significant this Quran is. The superiority of the Quran compared to any other words is like the superiority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over his creation. So these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us this beautiful metaphor when he said that the Quran is like a rope. The end of this rope is in your hand, the other end is in the hand of Allah. So as long as you're holding fast the Quran, you will never be misguided. You'll never be misguided. Hold fast to that has been
that which has been revealed to you. استمسك بالذي خذ الكتاب بقوة. Take the book with seriousness. خذوا الكتاب بقوة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Bani Israel, to Yahya, خذ يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة. Take this book with seriousness. What is more important than understanding the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? These are the words of Allah. That's the difference between Quran and the Sunnah or the Hadith. What is the difference between the Quran and the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Anybody? There are some differences between the Quran and both. We believe both come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet. Allah revealed to the Prophet ﷺ what to do and what to say, and he does it. Right? But since both of them from Allah, are there some differences? Anyone? Can someone just mention one difference between the Quran and the Hadith? Yes. Okay, so the Quran, reciting the Quran in the Salah is part of our prayer, but we cannot read Hadith in our prayer. And there's a good reason for that. This is the relationship between Sunnah and Quran, but I'm asking what the difference is. So one of the main differences is that when it comes to Al-Quran, the meaning and the words are from Allah. The meaning and the words, every word, these are words of Allah. And the meaning, of course, is also from Allah. Whereas the Sunnah, the meaning is from Allah, but the words are the Prophet's words. Right? So the Prophet will say, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. Right? That's a piece of information. These are the words of Rasulullah. So the meaning is revealed to him, but he says it in his own words. Another significant difference is that every word of the Quran is authentic. We Muslims do not question the authenticity of the Quran. Have you ever seen any school of thought or madhab or scholar say, this is not an ayah from the Quran, or this surah is not an authentic surah? No. We don't have this dispute, alhamdulillah. The entire Quran, word by word, is from Allah. There's no question about this. But when it comes to hadith, as you all know, and inshallah we can talk about al-mustalah al-hadith at some other occasion, some hadith are authentic, reach the highest level of authenticity called tawatur, little less called mashhur, and then hadith al-ahad, some of them are authentic, sahih, others are hasan, others are da'if, and the da'if are different levels as well. So not every hadith is authentic, but every ayah is authentic, right? That's important for us to know. That's why ulama al-hadith, they have their own methodology to differentiate between what is authentic and what's not authentic. And it's a very sophisticated science of hadith. But this is one of the main differences between the Quran and the hadith, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day said to his Sahaba, would any one of you would like to go to Wadi Budhan, a valley that usually owners of camels they take for grazing? Would any one of you like to go to this valley that's usually full of camels and go to this valley and pick one or two fat she camels, bring it back to his home without committing any crimes? Of course, yeah, so like everyone of us would love to do that. Go to the valley and pick one or two big camels, expensive camels, bring them home. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to go to the masjid to learn one or two ayat, to know them, to know the meaning of them, memorize them, is better than going to this valley and taking two camels. And learning 3 ayat is better than taking 3 camels. and so on and so forth. Just to use today's language, if someone told you, would you like to go to a Mercedes dealership and pick any, whatever car you like, just give you the key and bring it home. Of course, everyone must love to do that, right? Just go there, pick one car, take it, drive it. It's yours. Of course, we'd love to do that. How about two? Yeah, you can take up to two cars. Well, I'll take one for me and one for my wife. How about three? Even better, right? So coming here to this place to learn the meaning of one or two or three ayat is much better than this. Much better than this. And in our value system, what is expensive in the eyes of the people is so cheap, and what's so cheap is very expensive in the eyes. Imam al-Ghazali, radiallahu anhu, said that if someone is given Al-Quran and he thinks that someone else is giving something more valuable, then he devalued what Allah has valued and valued what Allah has devalued, or consider what Allah considered insignificant significant. If you're giving the Quran, Allah gave you a Quran, so nobody is giving anything better than this. ثم أورثنا الكتاب الذين اصطفينا من عبادنا. We have entrusted Al-Quran to those whom we have elected from among our servants. So if Allah gives you Al-Quran, no one is given anything better than this. قد عظم ما حقر الله وحقر ما عظم الله. And I remember this story, this Hafid who used to teach Al-Quran. This is his job to teach. Quran has like a school of Quran teacher, and he was like poor, and he met one of the imams, and he asked him, "How are you doing?" He said, "Wallahi, things are tough, difficult. Income is so low, and things are getting expensive, and it's tough." He, complained about poverty, basically. And this imam asked him, "How much would you take from someone who would take from your heart Surah Al-An'am? If someone takes from your heart Surah Al-An'am, how much would you ask for this?" Not even the entire world. Take Surah Al-An'am from me, there's no price for this. How about Surah Al-Baqarah? He said, "No way." And then he kept mentioning the names of the surahs that this man has in his heart. He said, "You have all this in your heart. Allah has given you this, and you complain of poverty, or you are the most wealthy person." And you ask many Hafiz, "How much would you accept if we take the Quran from your heart?" So, no, you cannot exchange the Quran with anything else. This is how significant this Quran is. So, this is just a long introduction about the importance of having these kind of study circles. Just spend some time with our Quran. Sometimes watch movies 2 hours and watch games. When it comes to Al-Quran and doing what is important, what's significant, what helps us in this dunya and akhirah, we come up with so many excuses. It's they're far from the masjid, or I have important things to do. The shaitan will always try to make you feel heavy to drive to the masjid, to spend some time in the masjid. So, alhamdulillah, nothing brought us here except our love to Allah and His Messenger, and our desire to increase our knowledge, especially about Al-Quran al-Kareem. I strongly believe that we as Muslims, we are in desperate need to go back to the Quran. We are living in different time, challenging time, and we need to go back to the roots. We need to go back to the source of guidance. And we are so fortunate that we have a point of reference that's authentic and it's available and accessible. All what we need to do is just to spend some time and effort to understand it. As you all know, we are living in a world of so many philosophies and ideologies, ideas. People debate basic things now, and people are confused what to do, how much freedom people should have. How do we define gender? How do we define family? Religion is considered like a backward way of thinking or closed-minded because you're religious. Religion itself is attacked. People don't know what is right and what's wrong, what's ethical and what's. People are confused. And we as Muslims, alhamdulillah, are not. Why? Because we have a divine point of reference. We know what's right and what's wrong. Go back to source. Right? Clear and simple. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Our deen is simple and clear, and haram is bayyin, as Rasulullah said. Halal is clear and haram is clear, and in between are some issues only scholars know about. Right? Mutashabihat. People are not 100% sure it's halal. Go and ask the people of knowledge. But halal is made clear and haram is made clear. Right? Everything you can eat except, all exceptions. You can drink anything you want except anything that intoxicates you. Right? Haram is clear. Marriage is halal, anything else is haram. Marriage, we have to define marriage now. No, we don't, because marriage is marriage. Right? And now we have to add the word traditional marriage in it. So we have a point of reference. So we as Muslims should not be confused. What does Islam say about this? This is what Islam says. Quran says this. What does Islam say about that? This is what the Quran says. And the Sunnah, of course, comes to give more details about it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the authentic hadith in Sahih Muslim, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه. This Quran will come in the day of judgment in the form of a person. In your grave and in the day of judgment. Rasulullah told us that the Quran will come in a form of a man who looks good and smells good. So who are you? I am your Quran. And here the Quran will come, and the Siyam during the month of Ramadan will come as lawyers, arguing on your behalf. The Quran says, Ya Allah, I prevent them from sleeping, and he used to repeat me. And because memorizing the Quran is not difficult, but it's not easy. Right? It's achievable. If you put your intention, you can do it. And I would urge every one of you to have the intention, inshallah, one day you'll be hafiz. Might sound impossible, but it's not impossible. I can tell you how to do it. You can. If you have the intention, وَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُّدَّكِرٍ. Let's have the intention, inshallah, before I die, I want to memorize the entire Quran. We can help you with this, inshallah. So that the Quran will come as shafi'ah, interceding on your behalf, defending you, arguing on your behalf, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you and so on. And not only that, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Khayrukum," the best of you, or the best amongst you, are those who learn and teach the Quran. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. Those are the best. So learn the Quran. That includes learning how to recite it correctly, and the tajweed, and know the meaning, and try to explain the Quran to people. Tafseer of Quran. Also, learning takes a lot of effort to learn, and also take effort to teach. So those who learn and teach the Quran are the best Muslims. But nobody is born a scholar. Nobody is born a professional reciter of the Quran. To master the tajweed of Quran doesn't happen overnight, right? So all these great Quran, mashallah, they started, of course, stumbling and learning. Sometimes the teachers were tough. That some Muslim countries, the shuyukh are very tough on their students. Different story. So what I'm saying is that they went through this mujahada, this training. They made mistakes, and the teachers would correct them, and so on until they mastered the qira'at, right? I really enjoy listening to these great Qur'an, mashallah. May Allah bless their souls, those who passed away, those who are still alive, mashallah. Allah gave them this ability to recite the Quran perfectly, right? I've been chosen, and I really envy them in a halal way. It's halal envy, that you wish you are like someone else. Those who passed away and their qira'ah still recorded, we can play them all the time. So that died 20, 30 years ago, but people still listen to their qira'ah, right? So Rasulullah said to encourage those who find it difficult to read the Quran. He said, those who recite Al-Quran perfectly will be in the day of judgment, مع السفرة الكرام البررة. He will be the high level with the angels. السفرة الكرام البررة. That is the reward of those who read Al-Quran with perfection. They master the knowledge of tajweed Al-Quran, مخارج الحروف, الترقيق والتفخيم والمد والقلقلة إلى آخره. Inshallah, we can have also a class for tajweed for those who want to master the ilm al-tajweed. And how about those who are beginners? Rasulullah said, وَالَّذِي يَقْرَأُ الْقُرْآنَ وَيَتَتَعْتَعُ فِيهِ وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ شَاقٌّ لَهُ أَجْرٌ. Those who recite the Quran with difficulty will get two rewards. Some ulama said the reward of the qira'ah, the reward of the struggle to try to perfect their qira'ah. Okay, so who is better in your eyes? The one who mastered the tajweed and recited the Quran perfectly, or the one who is trying and stumbling and found it difficult, and he goes through embarrassment and someone has to correct them? For seeking knowledge includes, that's well-known fact. To seek knowledge, this means that you have to humble yourself. Because someone has to teach you and correct you, evaluate you, test you, right? So seeking knowledge requires humility. So those who get two rewards, inshallah, eventually, if they are consistent, inshallah, they will reach the level of the perfection of Al-Qur'an in the future, inshallah. It will be said to the person who used to recite the Quran, اقرأ وارتقي. اقرأ, read, and ascend. Darda said to Aisha radiallahu anha. Darda, the wife of Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, she asked Aisha radiallahu anha, what is the difference between those who have the Quran, the heart, and those who don't among the people of Jannah? Not every Muslim hafiz the Quran will be in Jannah. And Aisha said every ayah of the Quran has a rank in Jannah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka. The more you read, the higher you go. It will be said, the angels will say to the people of the Quran, read and ascend. Read, the more you read, the higher in ranks you go. So if you read the whole Quran, no one will be above you. Aisha radiallahu anha said, no one will be above you. You will be a safara al-kiram al-barara. Fi riwayah, safara wal-hukam. Hukam refers to the prophets. You will be in that high. The people of Al-Quran are the people of Allah, close people to Allah. Ahlullahi wa khassatuhu. We need to just give our time, our attention. As our ulama used to say this, Al-Quran will not give you part of it until you give it all of you. Al-Quran will not give you part of its wisdom, light, hikmah, until you give Al-Quran all of yourselves, your heart, your mind, your attention, then you will get something out of it. That's why we call Al-Quran Al-Kareem, right? Quran Kareem, because every time you go to Al-Quran, you'll come out with something, some wisdom, some knowledge, some reminder. But you have to give Al-Quran all of yourself, all your heart and your mind and your intention and your attention. So we don't take Al-Quran lightly. If you recite one letter of the Quran, then you get 10 hasanat. And Rasulullah says, I don't say alif, lam, mim as one harf. No, alif is harf, lam is harf, mim is harf. So 10, when you say alif, lam, mim, it's 30 hasanat. You count Bismillah, Bismillah, 3 letters, right? 30. Word Allah, 40. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, you count. Make the calculation. How much hasanat you get if you read Al-Fatiha? Count how many letters we have there in Al-Fatiha, and then Allah can give you even more. This is the least you can get. Right? So and Quran is not cheap. Quran is called Quran. وَإِنَّهُ لَكِتَابٌ عَزِيزٌ. What does Aziz mean? Why diamond is so expensive? Because it's not thrown in the street, right? It's not like sand. Sand is cheap, right? Grass is cheap because it's available in abundance. A diamond is rare, so diamond is very expensive, right? So Al-Quran is very expensive. And that's why if you memorize a surah and you don't review it regularly, what will happen? It will gradually go away. How many people did memorize the Quran and they stop reviewing it? What happens? You don't spend time and effort to keep it, the Quran will leave you. The Quran will go to someone else who really pays attention. Rasulullah gave the example of a camel. You know, if you have a camel and you don't tie the camel, what will happen? Naturally, the camel will gradually start walking away, looking for grazing, right? And if you know anything about camels, when camels move, they don't make any sound because of the hoof is so thick. So when they walk, they don't make noise. So you will not even feel it. Right? Memorize a surah and just you don't review it, gradually it will walk away from you. You have to keep reviewing it. So memorizing the Quran is one thing, and keeping the Quran with you is another. I always give this advice to those who finish Hifz the Quran. I always say that you did the easy part. You are done with the easy part. Hifz the Quran. Difficult part is to keep it, to review it. Some recite the Quran once every week, and others read the whole Quran in 5 days or 6 days. Every day they read 5 juz. 30 juz in 6 days, done. Some even more energy and they do it in 3 days. Every day, 10 juz every day. Believe it or not, some read the whole Quran in 1 day. Every day they have khatm al-Quran from Surah Al-Baqarah, Al-Fatiha, and Surah Al-Nas, every day. You may say, it's impossible, but it's not impossible. And we have seen this because they love Al-Quran, they don't waste their time, all this nonsense. This is what they do. Al-Quran was revealed to be understood. What's unique about the miracle of Islam, I'm sure for those of you who interact with non-Muslims and they ask, what are the miracles of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? The miracle of Musa was a physical miracle, right? Turning the staff into a snake, hit the rock, 12 springs would come out, and so on and so forth. You know those stories. Miracles of Isa alayhi salam is also physical miracles. Only those who live there saw it. He gave life to that person and he can heal them, born blind and leper. Quran reported these miracles. What is the miracle of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He did perform so many miracles, but believe it or not, none of these miracles were the reason for people to come to Islam. People did not come to Islam because they saw Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the water coming out of his hand, among his fingers. Did not attract anybody to come to Islam. Isra and Mi'raj, in fact, many people reverted. They left Islam because they swallowed Isra and Mi'raj. So the main miracle of Islam is an intellectual miracle. Quran comes to talk to our minds. We hear the stories of the miracles the prophets performed by the will of Allah, but our miracle, mu'jiza, is Al-Quran Al-Kareem. And Al-Quran challenged the entire humanity to come up with Quran like it. Couldn't. And then Al-Quran reduced the challenge to create 10 surahs only, like Al-Quran. They failed. And then that challenge went down to one surah. One surah only. The enemies of Islam from the time of the Prophet until now, they were not able to produce even one surah like Al-Quran. So we as Muslims, there's a big difference between passionate belief and rational belief. We should actually have both. We should be passionate and we should also be rational believers. Because Al-Quran is self-evident. It's from Allah. It's impossible for one person, even group of people or committee or council, any number of human beings can create this Quran. Anybody who study Arabic in depth can understand this. Not Muhammad or anyone else can say these words. So we have no doubt. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. This is the book. There's no doubt in it. هدى للمتقين. كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته. We have revealed this blessed book so that they may reflect upon it. Allah invites us and Allah loves to see us reflecting. The word tadabbur, يدبروا آياته. And the Quran says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ? Allah says, don't they reflect and understand the Quran? Don't they know that no one can say these things except Allah? أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ? Why don't they reflect upon the Quran? أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا? Or in their blocks in their hearts that prevent them from opening their hearts and read this book. When they send one of the leaders of Quraysh, I think Utbah, Rabi'ah, to the Prophet, one of the leaders of Quraysh said, let me go and talk to Muhammad, see what this is all about. And he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he told him, yeah, Muhammad, you brought so much trouble to your people. We don't know anyone who brought troubles and hardship, conflict to his people like you did. You caused all the fitna and you separated the man from his father or brother from his brother. You caused so much conflict within people. So what is it? Is it like money? We'll give you money. It's leadership will make you leader. But why is this? And he kept accusing the Prophet of causing troubles. And this is what happened to all reformists. Any reformist, anyone who bring a new way, he will be called terrorist, troublemaker, all these kind of things. Later on, they are recognized as heroes, like Mandela, Martin Luther King, all called terrorists, troublemakers, thrown in jail, and now we celebrate them as leaders of human rights, right? Anyways, so the Prophet ﷺ was listening, never interrupted him. And when he was done, the Prophet said, "أفرغت يا أبا الوليد." Utbah, his son is al-Walid ibn Utbah, died with him, Badr, and his brother is Shayba. So the Prophet called him with his nickname. "Are you done, Abu Walid?" He said, "Yes." The Prophet said, would you listen?" He said, "Yes." He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Hamid, تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون بشيرا ونذيرا فأعرض أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون وقالوا قلوبنا في أكنة مما تدعون إليه وفي آذاننا وقر من بيننا وبينك حجاب فاعمل إننا عالمون." We start at the beginning of Surah Fussilat. That's it. Man was listening until the Prophet reached this ayah. فَإِنْ أَعْرَضُوا فَقُلْ أَنذَرْتُكُمْ صَاعِقَةً مِثْلَ صَاعِقَةٍ. If they turn away, say to them, "I warn you, a thunderbolt that will come and strike you, like what happened to the people of Ad and Thamud." And he said to the Prophet, "I ask you by Allah, that's enough. Please, that's enough." He couldn't take it. Then he went to the leaders of the Quraysh, who was waiting. He was like considered a wise man. And when they saw him coming, they said to each other, he came with a different face. "Okay, what happened, Abu Walid, meeting with Muhammad?" And he made such statement when he said, "إن لكلامه لحلاوة إن عليه لطلاوة إن علاه لمثمر إن أسفله لموضع وإنه لا يعلو ولا يبلع وما هو بقول البشر." This Quran is reciting. It's not for me. My advice to you: leave him alone. Leave Muhammad alone. If Arabs killed him, that's what you want. And if he is successful, he's your son. They said that he practices magic. But they knew. Now they knew this is from Allah. ولكن الظالمين بآيات الله يجحدون. They don't want to see the truth. There's a big difference between someone who objectively want to see the truth and someone who does not want to see. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet, "Don't kill yourself out of sorrow. Just convey the message and let them decide." Okay. So Al-Quran is an intellectual miracle. Al-Quran came for us to read, to reflect, and to try to understand the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. This is what we need to do. اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. If you don't know, ask the people of knowledge. And never ever, it's a huge sin to interpret Al-Quran on your own without having any knowledge. Don't quote Al-Quran, because when you quote Al-Quran and put it in the context, that's a form of tafsir. Don't do that. Don't say Allah said this, this means that, without reading or studying or knowing the Arabic language or what the Mufassirin said, and so on. Tafsir is not the job of everyone. Even if you are good in Arabic language, that's not good enough. Of course, you have to master the Arabic language, the classic Arabic language, the Fusha. And you need to know the tafsir, the aqwal, the ulama, before you open your mouth. Because tafsir is a science. Only those who are qualified to make tafsir can do that. Al-Quran always invites people to follow evidence. قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring forth your evidence if you're saying the truth. إِيتُونِي بِكِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ هَذَا أَوْ أَثَارَةٍ مِّنْ عِلْمٍ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring me any piece of knowledge or evidence that if you're saying the truth. Where do you get this from? قُلْ إِن كَانَ لِلرَّحْمَنِ وَلَدٌ فَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. Tell them, O Muhammad, if you can prove to me that Allah has a son, I'll be the first one to worship him. But what kind of evidence do you have? There's no evidence. Did Ibrahim say that Allah has a son? No. Did Ishaq and Yaqub and Yusuf preach that Allah has a son? No. Did Musa alayhi salam, who received the Torah, preach that Allah is a son? No. Did Isa alayhi salam say that Allah is a son? No. Where do you get this from? Show me a piece of evidence. They have no evidence. They have no evidence, no, they have no argument. Our belief system is based on knowledge, on evidence. It's not just imitating. Just believe, brother. Just believe. Just believe. No, it's not just believe. If something does not really contradict with the basic rational thinking, that's why Aristotle came up with a science called logic, right? It must be logic. If there's no logic, then how can I build my faith on a myth? You cannot build your faith on a myth or stories. People narrated this, people said that. We don't know who said what. In Islam, you have a chain of narration, right? We have tawatur. We know who said what. We can trace this. Right? In Ilm al-Hadith, if one person in this chain of narrators is missing, the entire hadith is considered da'if. This is ignored. That's not authentic. Why? Because in this chain of narration, someone is missing. And this person definitely did not see or meet this person. Must have heard it through someone, and this someone is not known. Alas, hadith is da'if. One person in this chain of narration is missing. Some holy books starts 300 years missing. 300 years are missing. For us, it's like forget about it. Forget about it. So Al-Quran came to be understood, to be studied, to be reflected upon. And amazingly, every generation can come and they find new meaning in Al-Quran. They find new meaning that's relevant to their life. And the challenge we have as Muslims is how can we make Al-Quran relevant to our life? Quran contains stories, talk about what will happen after death, day of judgment, hell and heaven, right? The Quran talks about halal, haram, ahkam, rules, do's and don'ts. Quran serves as a source of ethics, what's ethical and what's unethical. So for us to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do, then we have to study the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Sunnah came, of course, to explain Al-Quran Al-Karim. So to begin the Tafseer, inshallah, we start with A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Before we get into Al-Fatiha, we recite Al-Isti'adah first, right? A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Why is that? Does anybody know why we begin our Quran recitation with A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem? Allah said so in the Quran. What did Allah say? فإذا سورة النحل إذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So why do we say isti'adha before the why did Allah say that? There must be a reason. Yeah, Allah said so, there must be a reason. Right? There must be a reason why Allah wants us to say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem before we start Quran recitation. Exactly. Every one of us goes through this, right? You start the Quran and then you remember this email and you remember this appointment and you remember this message that you have to send and you remember this and you remember that. Same thing happened when you pray. Someone came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every time we mention the name of the Prophet, we say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, Shaitan came between me and my prayer. He ruined my prayer. I cannot focus. I don't know in rak'ah I pray. I didn't know what to recite. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that is Shaitan. His name is Khanzab. As a particular Shaitan comes to you once you start your salah. And he would bring all these ideas to you. Bring all these things that need to be taken care of. Remind you of things that you wouldn't normally thought of. He'll bring all these ideas to you. And then you end up, how many rak'ahs that prayer? Is it the third or the fourth? I don't know. Ask someone, what did the Imam recite? I don't know, you recited some Quran. I don't know. Right? It happens all the time. And the Prophet said that some people pray will get only half of their prayer, half the reward of their prayer, or 1/4 of their prayer, or 1/10 of their prayer, 1/5 of their prayer. And Shaitan will steal these parts of the salah, right? It reminds you of everything. And there was a real story. Some said it was Imam Abu Hanifa that someone came to him and he told him, Imam, I hid a treasure. It has like gold and silver, and he hid them somewhere in the forest or the desert, somewhere. There were banks at that time, so but I forgot where I buried them. That's not a fiqh question, obviously. And the Imam said, okay, after the prayer, pray qiyam the whole night. So, okay. So he went to pray qiyam, and guess what? Shaitan came to him and brought all these memories, and he remembered where he was. And he came next day to the Imam thanking him. And he said, what is the relationship between Qiyam al-Layl and remembering the place where I buried my treasure? He said, I knew that Shaitan will come to you and he will bring all these kind of ideas to you. And it worked. So, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. It is in Salah or out of Salah. Out of Salah. So when you read the Quran out of Salah, or you also say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem before you start reading Al-Fatiha. Some ulama said you recite because the Quran is general, so it includes reading the Quran in Salah or out of Salah. So what is general stays general unless something comes to specify it. Others, like Imam Malik, said, no, this is only when you recite out of the Salah, not in the Salah. Right? Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i, they said that you recite A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem in the first rak'ah only, because they consider every qira'ah in the Salah as one qira'ah. So, before you read Fatiha, it's okay, it's sunnah to say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. One time, the first rak'ah, that will be sufficient. Anyways, shaitan, the word shaitan come from shatan, Arabic, which means like something that's far away. And that's why they call a well that's so deep. They call it bi'run shatin. Shatin means that the bottom is so deep. And the rope that they use to bring water from such deep well is called shatan, and the plural is ashtan, as Antara mentioned, it is mu'allaqa. يدعون عنتر والرماح كأنها أشطان بئر في لبان أدهمي. Ashtan, the plural of shatan, which means that. So the meaning is the one who goes far away. This shaitan went far away from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was excessive in his disobedience, so he went so far when he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one of the meaning of the word shaitan. You say a'udhu, the word a'udhu, like Quran, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. When you say أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, the word أَعُوذُ means I seek refuge in Allah from this. أَعُوذُ عَادَ وَيُعِيدُ means to protect. When someone استعاذ بك, means that he sought refuge or sought your protection. So when someone runs after the other to harm him and he comes behind you, say, please, protect me from them. It's okay, so khalas, that's it. Is under my protection. That's what ista'ad. Seeking protection or seeking refuge in Allah from ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Ar-rajim means from rajim. Rajim means stone, right? Stoned shaitan, which also translated as cursed. But I know that jamarat, do the jamarat. So he's Rajim. He is the one who is stoned. And this also is Quranic terminology. قالوا لئن لم تنتهي يا نوح لتكونن من المرجومين. Disbelievers. He of Noah, they said to Noah, if you don't stop this nonsense you are preaching, we will stone you. Marjumi, right? So a rajim is the one who is stoned. And the best way to stone the shaitan is to say, A'udhu billahi shaitan rajim. This is how we stone. It hurts very badly. It hurts very badly. So shaitan will come to you when you start your prayer, when you start reading the Quran, because this is the way of success. And he does not want you to be successful. He would like to ruin your salah and your ibadah by either change your intention, so the whole thing is void, or after you're done your ibadah, it makes you talk so much about it to ruin it, or while you're doing it, he will try to confuse you or to distract you, make it like seem like difficult, so on. So Shaitan is our enemy. إن الشيطان لكم عدو فاتخذوه عدوا. Shaitan is your enemy, so take him as an enemy. He will never encourage you to do something that is good for you. What he does is that he beautifies what's ugly and makes it look good. And when it comes to doing good deeds or spending, fi sabilillah, you have children going to college and you need to do this. No, don't spend. You want to wake up for Fajr, to pray the oh, you are tired today, you know, just take some more time, get some rest, and then you wake up and pray later on. And then you sleep and wake up on sunrise, right? And so on. Every time you try to do something, you try to make it look difficult. And when you feel this, say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, and go for it. Go for it. Do it. In the hadith, إن للشيطان لما وللملك لما. Sometimes you get encouraged. Some angels will come and give you the spirit of waking up to pray, spend fisbillah, or go and visit your relatives. The angels also come to bring good suggestions for you. Sometimes you feel inspired, right? You say, well, I feel like I'm inspired to do something. I don't know why. An angel comes to you and whispers to you to do good things. And shaitan does the opposite. He brings bad, evil suggestions to you. So we need to be aware of this. So that's why it is always sunnah before we start saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, loud. So shaitan will just run away. And shaitan hates to hear the adhan. That's why we need to learn how to call adhan even in our homes. If we pray at home, call the adhan. Rasulullah said that when shaitan hears adhan, he will run away, scared. Does not tolerate listening to the adhan, because the adhan say Allahu Akbar, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He doesn't like this, just run away. In the hadith, when we recite the Quran and we recite ayat al-sajda, the end of Surah Alaq, مثلا, or in the end of Surah Najm, مثلا, كلا لا تطع واسجد واقترب. Then we make sujood, right? And this hurts the shaitan so much. He says that the son of Adam was ordered to make sujood, and he did obey Allah and he will go to Jannah. I was asked to make sujood, I refused, and I'm going to go to the hellfire. So, qira'at al-isti'adha al-awli is highly recommended. And then we start our tilawa with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is not a simple thing as many may think. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim means that I recognize the provider, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who guided me to do this. When you eat, when you write, when you drive your car, when you do anything, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is a paradigm shift. It's not me, it's not my intelligence, it's not anyone, it's Allah. I do this in the name of Allah, who gave me intelligence, who gave me direction, who gave me will, give me guidance. I eat in the name of Allah. I speak in the name of Allah. I write in the name of Allah. I interact. I travel in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This summarizes the purpose of my life. I do this in that. When we slaughter animals, say Bismillah, right? It's Allah who created these animals. It's Allah who gave me permission to slaughter these animals and to enjoy them. I do this in the name of Allah, the Creator and the Provider, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is it an ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha or not? All ulama agree it's an ayah, Al-Fatiha. Reading it loudly or not loudly is a different story. I don't want to get into the 50 disagreement, but just starting our qira'ah, our salah, in the name of Allah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the name, right? And then there are attributes. Allah is ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Allah is the name of our Lord, the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the name that He gave to Himself. By the way, I have a discussion with my colleagues I teach Islamic studies at OU, and there are some rabbis teaching Jewish studies, and sometimes we go for lunch, drink coffee, and talk about different theological differences. And this rabbi was also teaching introduction to Jewish studies. He said that, we the Jews, traditionally, we don't give name to him, because once you give a name to anything, you own it. You give a name to a building or car, or you call something, give it a name, then you own it, because you are the one who gave a name to something. You are more superior to it. So that's why they said we don't call him. There's no name that can fit him. I said, okay, so how would you refer to God then? They said, okay, they came up with this word, but they don't write God. They write Elohim, I think. Elohim. And there's another name. I don't remember. I said, well, but to give him a name. He mentioned the name. He said, instead of saying Allah or God, they said, I remember. I said, well, I said, for us as Muslims, Allah did not leave it to us. Allah gave Himself name. His name is Allah, right? And He has 99 names or attributes. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Faddus, Al-Salam, Al-Mu'min, Al-Sami' Al-Basir, Al-Aziz, Al-Hakim. These all the attributes of Allah, right? So, Bismillah, I begin in the name of Allah. And Allah has 99 attributes, right? Sifat, Asma' al-Husna, Sifat al-Ula. So, why Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? Why not Bismillah al-Sami' al-Alim? Why not Bismillah al-Hakim al-Khabir? There are so many, 99. We recite in the Fatiha, Bismillah ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And again, another ayah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. There must be a reason here. These two particular attributes are mentioned twice. There must be a reason, and this is the tadabbur and tafakkur that we need to practice. What is the message that Allah wants us to understand? Why these two particular attributes are mentioned twice? And some, of course, they consider Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim an ayah of each surah, and others said no, it's only in Surah Al-Fatiha. And so many opinions, but definitely Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is the first ayah. And if open any mushaf, First page, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then you see number 1. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, number 2. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is definitely the first ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha. No disagreement. All ulama agree that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha. So now, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and then again Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So when something is repeated in the Quran, it should attract our attention to ask why. Why these two attributes? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. I'll stop here and inshallah we'll answer this question next week. So I hope inshallah we'll make it next week. We'll talk about this next week, inshallah. We have a few minutes for comments or questions before we conclude and get ready for Salat al-Isha. So if you have any questions or comments, you're more than welcome. And I just want to welcome our youth who are, mashallah, they look great. And thank you guys for coming. And I hope you learned something today. If it was useful, inshallah, I can see you, inshallah, next week as well. Always like to see the younger generation here present, mashallah. Comments or questions from the brother's side or from the sister's side? Yes, please.
So I know this guy who just turned to Islam, and I was asking him if he learned to how to recite that, and he said no. So I wasn't sure if anybody wants to pray, does he has to recite that?
Well, Imam Abu Hanifa answered this question when he said that those who are A'jamis, those who do not speak Arabic, until they learn, they must learn. But again, it takes time. So the nearest thing is just to say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, that Allah, something that relates to dhikrullah, subhanallah. Is unable to read until someone teaches him or her, then they should say Subhanallah, something simple like Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, and that will be sufficient. It is our responsibility as Muslims to teach them. We need to have programs, comforts, to teach them simple things. Rasulullah, when someone converts to Islam, he will point one of the Sahaba, okay, go and teach your brother how to make salah and how to, the basic things, to teach them. So we need to teach them. We need to actually create programs that accommodate their needs. Allah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين جزاكم الله خيرا. I think it's that time.